while you may not have had a chance to hear Les Paul play, you certainly heard Les Paul's sound. Les Paul is forever synonymous with the electric guitar. Yeah, that's right. Paul performed in music from an early age, but it was his keen interest in experimenting with electrical sound that changed the music world forever. His signature invention, a stringed instrument that could make electric sounds without distorting, resulted in the Gibson Les Paul electric guitar. It has become one of the most popular of all electric guitar models, serving as a staple for rock and roll's guitar elite. Famed musicians associated with the Les Paul include Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Duane Allman, Mike Bloomfield, Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen, and last month's inductee, Mr. Peter Frampton, who, if he were here from Frampton Comes Alive, would say, "Thank you." Which, for those of you here for the induction, he said, "I know, I said it 17 times on the live album." Paul also pioneered many innovative audio techniques that defined the rock and roll sound and are still used today. In fact, in speaking of Paul's mark on rock music, Eddie Van Halen stated, and I quote, "Without the things you've done, I wouldn't be able to do half the things I do." Quote. Paul was a noted musician in his own right, recording 2 #1 hits in the early 50s and recording a Grammy-winning album of instrumental duets with Chet Atkins in the late 70s, Lester and Chester. Up until his death, he continued to be one of the primary icons and spokespeople for the Nashville-based Gibson Guitar Company. And here today to present Les Paul's star to his son, Russ, is Gibson Guitar CEO, Henry Juskowitz.
Well, it's my honor and pleasure to present this for Les. I got to know Les Paul in 1986, and I met him first when he was gigging in a small club called Fat Tuesdays in New York. It is so appropriate that this plaque is here because Les actually got his start in a way at the Ryman Auditorium. Les was driven by music. When he was a small boy, I talked to some of his boyhood pals in Waukesha, Wisconsin. While they went out to play baseball and soccer and football and tried to drag Les out, he would stay in his house practicing guitar. And he would practice guitar hours and hours and then go and try to sneak into local bars and try to play. And one day, Les's mom, who he was very close to, packed him in a car and drove him to the Ryman Auditorium. And she stood at the side of the stage and implored every star that walked up on stage to give Les a moment on stage. And finally someone relented, and Les stepped on stage and did his first performance right here at the Ryman. It was only a couple of years ago when he was here playing with his trio, and he spent the night telling stories about those times and about the Ryman. Les's first success was actually in country music, what they used to call, he called hillbilly music. And he was very successful playing that music. He was playing with the radio star of the day and touring as a youngster. And then he came home one day and said hello to his mom, and his mother said, "Well, Les, I heard you on the radio last night." And Les said, "When?" And she told him. And Les said, "I wasn't on the radio last night, Mom." And she said, "Well, it sounded just like you, Les." And that event changed his life. Because he said, if my mother can't distinguish my sound from the sound of other people, that's wrong. And he set about to invent a signature sound. and his entire life was spent searching for that unique signature sound. And today we have that signature sound in the Les Paul guitar and in the many effects that are used in the music business. Les really invented many of the effects used in the recording studio, with multi-track recording, sound on sound. He had this effect called the Les Pulverizer, which he would go up on stage with a little box that actually was about 15 tape recorders in the back of the stage.
And he thought this was his second home. He had so many of his friends down here, Brett Mason, Charlie Daniels, Skaggs, Chet Atkins, and on, but this was his second home right here. He thought this was the best there was, and then you go to jazz, that's a whole nother deal, but his whole life was between jazz and country, and he loved it so much, and I just don't have the words to say too much, because it's still hard for me to handle it. It's been a little over 2 years he's passed, but we want to keep his legacy going, and we want to thank everybody here at the Walk of Fame, and all you people out there that made it possible for him and Mary to be as good as they are and as popular as they were. And he was a phenomenal musician. The guy had a lot of things going. He was a comedian, he was an actor, he was a guitar player, he was everything and rolled into one, and it's kind of hard, you know. And he was the third one inducted into the LA Armed Forces Radio, and they used to have to find out why Tokyo Rose had stuff out faster than they had, and they found out how to do it, and they had a wonderful time though. I mean, he was a wonderful man, well respected, everybody loved him, but I just want to thank you very much for having a star, because it meant so much to him, it meant so much to the family. Thank you very much.
And straight ahead, sir. Right here, sir, in the